Hi again. How's it going? I know that my sipping a drink at the beginning of each video is really controversial. Some of you guys really hate it, but it just kind of gets me in the mood to like get cozy and talk about design with you. So you get 2 sips this time. You guys already know this because it's in the title, but today I'm talking about Emma Roberts' Architectural Digest tour. Quite a few of you guys commented saying that you think I would like this, and I have pretty mixed feelings about her home. And I know a lot of you guys aren't crazy about me talking about celebrity home tours, but I like doing them. So that's what you're getting this week. Without further ado, let's dive in and see her home, her very cozy, charming home.
Hey AD, I'm Emma Roberts. Come on in and check out my house.
Okay, so like I said, you can tell that she and her designers are really going for it in the sense that they just want this home to feel very cozy and just like a kind of like dollhouse cottage, very warm, cozy, inviting vibes. That being said, I feel like in some ways it was really successful, but along with that, I think the heavy use of pattern and color and just the kind of like overwhelming amount of ornament in the space is kind of getting a little lost. Like there's so many visually interesting pieces that are kind of competing with one another. Like when almost every piece in a space is really doing something and kind of trying to have like center stage, I think what ends up happening is just like everything gets lost. So I'm really happy that they were willing to take a risk and do something pretty unique like this. But I think for me, it just feels too much like a very thick sea of ornament that's just a little overwhelming the space.
This room really gets used when people are over or if it's the holidays. Things get moved around for a Christmas tree over there. But I just love to actually sit here and read on this couch. This is kind of like my quiet room. The fireplace used to be like mirrored and kind of foggy, and I thought it was chic until somebody told me it wasn't. And I immediately was like, we need to fix this fireplace. And so they came up with the idea of matching the chairs to the fireplace.
Okay, like for example, I don't really love the striped fireplace with the striped chairs. The color and the scale of the stripes are like similar, but a little bit off, which is really bothering me. I don't think it looks very good. If they were set on going for like a striped fireplace and striped chairs, I think having like a thinner stripe on the chairs and maybe a more intentionally different color could just kind of look a little bit nicer and finer. And along with that, I really like the idea of highlighting the fireplace, but the stripes are not really working for me, mainly because I feel like they're just kind of disregarding and disrespecting the like ornamental detail of the mantle. Like you can see the 3rd stripe down there, how it's kind of like straddling this like lip of the fireplace detail, if that makes sense. It just feels like it's really sort of like pasted on there and like not working with the actual structure of the fireplace, which I don't really love. And along with that, I really wish they were highlighting the whole vertical detail of the fireplace that almost goes up to the ceiling there. I think if I were designing this space and I wanted to kind of highlight that fireplace feature, I would probably paint the whole thing from the mantle down one solid color. And then in a similar color, I would probably introduce an interesting material like maybe a tile or some other interesting cladding. And I would highlight the whole vertical structure of that fireplace. And instead of treating that whole vertical detail in like an intentional way, they just put this huge TV there, which is just a big black box that's really contrasting with the paint color behind it. I think if you need to have the TV there, having a darker color on that kind of built-in element would look a lot better and just feel a lot nicer.
Now we are at the bar. They found this amazing antique bar that I'm so obsessed with, and vintage chairs, vintage bar. It's very, very chic. Now we're moving over to my little office area. And then stuff I really love is behind me. I'm really excited to show you guys. The doll wall. I have to move this to get optimal looks at the dolls. Okay.
Okay, the way she lights up about her doll collection is so sweet. And I feel really bothered by the fact that these are in like the darkest corner of the house. And even to show us these dolls, she had to like scoot her vintage desk over. In general, I think this wide hallway where they've put in the bar and the desk and all of this sort of built-in storage, I would need to look at the plans of the house to know exactly what I would do differently, like according to the measurements, but something is definitely not working for me. First of all, I feel like putting her desk in the corner, in a very dark corner, it doesn't look like a super pleasant place to be because there's almost no daylight. And if it did need to be there, I would definitely bring in a lot more electrical lighting so it doesn't feel so like dark and kind of dingy. And I absolutely love the vintage bar, but having these like oddly sized gaps on either side of it with the built-in storage is just not really working for me. I think it's looking pretty odd. And then I think it's even weirder that there's these like two vintage chairs in front of those gaps. I don't know. I think the millwork could have been designed a bit more thoughtfully. Like if this just had a bit more space and the chairs could kind of be set back next to the bar, I think that would look a lot better. Just in general, I feel like having this really beautiful vintage bar that's like flanked by these storage built-in pieces and then the chairs on either side of them, it's very much like the star of this room, right? And I think it's making the desk and doll shelf, which are pretty important to her, feel very much like an afterthought. So I think what I would do in this space is probably put her desk where the bar is and highlight her doll collection like above the desk with some nice open shelving. And then I would probably put the bar where her desk currently is, because I feel like a bar is kind of a more appropriate piece of furniture to have in like a dark corner that's like kind of tucked away, if that makes sense. And then if her desk was actually like a built-in millwork feature, I'm sure that her current desk could probably find another home in the house, maybe in her bedroom or bathroom as like a kind of vanity piece, because it's a really cool vintage piece. I'm not against all of her vintage pieces. I just think they need to be used more strategically.
We are in the TV room, and I would say we spend the most time in here. It is the comfiest couch, very comfy chairs, TV behind you, and my son has his toys in that chest. So this is where I'll watch TV, he'll play, we'll both play. We love it in here.
Okay, this room definitely has a lot less like overwhelming pattern than her living room, but I feel like there's just something still very like thick about the color palette and like the huge amount of textiles in this space. Like, I don't know, the curtains just feel like so thick and opaque. And this house is in Los Angeles at the end of the day, so it's not like it needs to be like super, super warm and insulated from the outside. So I wish it felt a bit like fresher and airier overall. I think you could definitely have that while preserving her kind of like storybook dollhouse aesthetic that she really clearly wants. And then this is like a minor note, but the art above her built-in bookshelves there is just really bugging me. The fact that it's like 3 framed pieces of art above these 3 columns of bookshelves, it does not look good. I think if you were going to have something there, just having one small piece of art would look like it makes a bit more sense. That's a really minor note, but I can't help myself. Sorry. And along with that, throughout this house, almost all of the materials are either like textiles, there's a huge amount of textiles, or wood or painted, like a very warm, thick color. And in general, I feel like it's just kind of missing that balance of like colder, harsher, fresher materials, like things that are like metallic or glass or tile, things like that. It just feels very thick, this house. I want it to feel a bit more light.
The kitchen was the place that At first I was like, it needs the least amount of stuff. And I realized that that was not true. I would never even think to put an island here. And when they told me, I was like, okay, let's do it. And it completely changed how we like live in the kitchen. Cause I'm sure it's, you know, the age old thing where everyone's like, why, when you have a party, is everyone in the kitchen? And it's annoying. But this actually, it makes it so it's like fun to hang out in here.
Okay, I really like the look of this kitchen. I really appreciate that they didn't go for like a very heavily ornamented cabinetry detail, which I feel like I was kind of expecting based on the rest of this house. I really like the shaker style cabinets that they used here, and I think they're painted a really nice color. In general, this kitchen actually feels a lot lighter and like easier on the eyes than the other rooms that we've seen so far, which I feel like is unusual. Usually kitchens are like the most visually cluttered, busiest room in the house. So I just wish that they had kind of shown a similar restraint around like color and pattern and ornament in the rest of the house, because I think this is working really well, just like how it feels in general. I really like how they painted the ceiling and how they used that crown molding detail to architecturally differentiate the ceiling from the soffit. I think that's really important. Yeah, in general, like the palette here and the way it feels, I think is really nice. Something that's not totally working for me is the actual space plan. I really dislike corners in kitchens, and especially 45-degree corners. I just feel like it's kind of a major waste of space. So I would have liked to see the sink turned and just be kind of centered under that window there. And then you wouldn't need to have that kind of funky 45-degree angle over here by the range. And it would probably also make more room for a longer island. So you could kind of make up for the counter space that you would lose. In general, this kitchen just feels very like tight. And I think that you have the space here to have a kitchen that feels like more open and like nicer to move through and cook in. But in general, I really love the kitchen. I think it's really nice. I also really dislike the painted wood floor. I feel like that's like become pretty trendy in the past few years. I've seen a lot of designers use it. I don't think it looks good. You guys know what I think about materials and authentic materials, and I think just painting a pattern on the floor like that feels funky to me. I don't like it. I like the idea of having like a large scale checkerboard print on the floor. I just wish that if they wanted that look, they would have used actual tile and not painted wood. God, I know that I sound so critical, and overall I do like this house. I think it's a lot better than most celebrity homes. I just am a very nitpicky, critical person.
We are in Rhodes's room, and when his room was finished, I was like, wait, I want this room. He loves nature and animals, and so I wanted to make his room feel like a little enchanted forest. And they showed me this fabric first, and they didn't need to show me anything else. Pretty much everything in here was the first thing that they showed. The wallpaper on the ceiling with the ducks.
Okay, I love the son's bedroom so much. I really think this is a successful example of kind of layering different prints and patterns. Like the upholstery of the bed itself with the bedding, those look really nice together. And I wish they had kind of taken a similar approach to the fireplace and chairs in the front entryway, because look, they clearly know how to layer patterns in a really, really great way. I think the only thing that I don't really like in this room is the light fixture on the ceiling, that kind of like wicker shade. I don't usually love woven wood shades like that unless it's like a really small accent light that's not actually trying to light up the room, because they always give off a very, very dark quality of light. And I feel like that's really felt here in this room. Like it seems really dark. They're filming this in the middle of the day, I assume, and it's really pretty dark in here. So I think I would have liked to see a different light fixture, one that still gives off like a soft, glowing quality of light, but would just light up the room a bit better, because it's way too dark right now.
This is technically my front yard. Even though I'm up in the hills, there's like a flat front yard and backyard for my son to run around, and this gazebo was a big selling point.
I really love the exterior of this house and the landscaping, how it's really like embedded in the garden in a really nice way. I'm curious what year it was born, I'm really curious what year it was built. You see how much I like humanize architecture, but I am very curious what year it was built, just because of all of the architectural details. I feel like houses like this are not super common in LA, in Southern California. So I think it's pretty cool that she was able to find such a unique home, and one that so clearly is like speaking her aesthetic language. Like, she has a really significant doll collection. Of course, she wants to live in like a cottage dollhouse. So I think that's really sweet.
We are in the primary suite, and this room, when I walked in and it was done, I couldn't believe it. I love anything floral, especially roses, peonies, pinks, and the fact that they match the headboard to the drapes. I just absolutely died.
I think her bedroom is another really good example of layering different colors and patterns. I think like the curtains and the bedding and the pillows are all working really well together, even though they're all really distinct. That being said, I really, really dislike the matching headboard and curtains behind it. I just feel like in general, in design, color and pattern should be used to highlight the actual space. And what this is doing is basically just entirely masking the interesting shape of her headboard, which I feel like is just kind of weird. It's kind of a shame. So I definitely wish that either the headboard was like a less interesting shape, or there was a contrast in color and pattern between the headboards and the curtains there. And my other note about this room is I really like the idea of mismatched nightstands. I think that's really great. But again, just like I've said in basically every room in this house, there's so much going on, and every single piece is like trying to be very special and very interesting, and it's just getting lost. Like, I feel like you can't appreciate these pieces at all because the room is so busy and so thick. Throughout the house, I just wish there were like more quiet moments, because every single moment and element in this house is like so full of detail and personality. It just feels very like overwhelming.
So we are in my bathroom / my office / my favorite place in the world. There was hardwood floors in here. So I was like, we have to tile the bathroom. And we were just gonna do white, who cares, make it look clean. And then we found this tile, this gorgeous like pomegranate colored tile. And I just fell in love with it.
Okay, the floor in this bathroom is so good. I love it so much. I think it's really suiting the architecture of the home and suiting the overall vibe that they're going for. And part of the reason that it's so good and I can appreciate it so much is because most of the rest of the bathroom is taking a back seat and letting the floor kind of be the moment, which I feel like is kind of what I'm trying to communicate throughout this whole video. It's really important to know like which moments and which pieces are going to take a back seat so that other ones can really be like center stage. Like, if this bathroom were, I don't know, if it were to be covered in like a very saturated, visually busy wallpaper or something, you wouldn't be able to appreciate that floor quite as much. So I think that this room is doing the best job of kind of balancing interesting moments from more quiet moments. I think the cabinetry, those shaker style cabinets, are working really well. And in general, I think the paint color that they chose is really nice with this highly saturated, beautiful tile floor. So yeah, overall, I really, really love this bathroom. I think it's working really well. There's obviously little things I would change, like the light fixture and like the window treatments. That curtain I don't particularly love, but it seems like she really loves it. So that's great. Okay, that's the whole video. That's her space. I know that most of the time that I'm speaking in these videos, I'm criticizing and like talking about things I don't like, but overall, I really appreciate this house. I really love how cozy it is, and I think that they took a lot of risks with color and pattern that I really appreciate. There's a few particular moments that I would really want to change something if I had creative liberty in this space. I think it's really great that she was able to find a home that architecturally suits her and her style so clearly. because the whole thing just makes a lot more sense. If she were to bring this exact style that she has into a different home, I think that kind of clash between languages would really bother me. So I think it's really great that she's in the home that she's in. I think the general direction of this house was really the right way to go. I just personally wish it was like a little less thick and a little less like highly ornamented in every single corner. But to each their own, and I can tell she really loves her home. And speaking of homes, my boyfriend and I are applying for an amazing, amazing apartment in Copenhagen this weekend. And I need all of you to manifest us getting this apartment. It's like a lottery system. So everyone that goes to the open house submits their application and they like draw a name from a hat, which is really frustrating because I want it so bad. So I know you guys haven't seen the home, but picture me there, picture me making videos, designing it for you guys because I really, really want it. And I'm posting this Friday, which is the day of the open house, and I'll know on Monday if we got it or not. So next video, I'll probably be able to update you guys. I really hope we get it. It's so hard to find a good apartment in Copenhagen. It's crazy. We've been looking for months. I wouldn't wish this experience on my worst enemy, truly. But I'm feeling good about this one. I hope we get it. Yeah, and that's all. I'll talk to you later. Love you. Bye.